Welcome to the Protagonist Pub. My name is Tammy. And this is where characters gather. I know there's a bunch of new people here, so welcome. I hope you find something new and exciting to read. And so, with that, let's talk about what I read last week. It was a good reading week, even though I DNF'd 5 books. So, let's do the DNFs first. First up would be The Love We Vow by Victoria Everly. This was a Catholic fiction book. It was aggressively Catholic. It was very uncomfortable to read as a Catholic. I'm not going to say any more than that. I'm just going to leave that one right there. Next up was Famous for a Living by Melissa Ferguson. This was an audio arc from NetGalley. I DNF'd this one almost instantly. First chapter. Unlikable 30-something-year-old characters who are just they were just incredibly shallow and vapid, and I couldn't stand them, so I wasn't going to continue. Next up was Double Indemnity by Robert Whitlow. This too was a NetGalley arc. I made this quarter of the way through, maybe a third of the way through, and I was just bored. I was bored. I didn't like anybody. I didn't care about anything. I was just bored. So done with that one too. Next up was A Most Agreeable Murder by Julius Seals. Again, unlikable characters. It was overly flowery prose. It was just nauseatingly saccharine, sweet, and just set my teeth on edge. So that arc too, I didn't make it through. And last up, Murder by Candlelight by Faith Martin. This too was an arc. I normally like Faith Martin books. This one, the language was stilted. The characters were cardboard. It was boring. So that was a no too. So 5 DNFs for the week. Not my best week, but happens sometimes. Next up, what I did read this week. I read some very good books this week. First up was The Lost Manuscript by Molly Rushmeyer. This was an arc from NetGalley too. I have reviewed it on my blog. It's linked down below in the description like always. This is a love-inspired novel. It is Christian fiction. It was a 4-star read for me. And it starts off in St. Cloud, Minnesota, and then it quickly moves to the north of England. And the premise is that the protagonist and her husband are in the process of getting a divorce, and her grandmother's gone missing, and so her husband is working in England, so she goes to work in England with him to find her grandmother and get him to sign the divorce papers and find the manuscript her grandmother was looking for. The manuscript part was interesting, and it kept me engaged, and I really enjoyed that part. The protagonist and her husband, so Elora and Alex, are two deeply flawed individuals. They're just deeply flawed. And they do not know how to communicate, and they do not know how to express their emotions remotely. Elora suffers a miscarriage. She doesn't tell Alex. He doesn't know why she's so upset. he's trying to escape publicity, the fact that he thinks he's failed again. And neither one of them talk to each other about what's going on in their own lives. He runs away to England. She stays behind in Minnesota. They both pout and just like ships passing in the night constantly. You don't see any of this. All this happens before the book even starts. But they talk about it during the book. And really, you just want to sit these two down, like almost from the very beginning of the book, and go, just stop being a whiny baby, grow up and talk to each other. Figure it out. That being said, the book was a 4-star. I can easily recommend it. She has one other book published at the Lost Bookstore, I believe. I'll put the name down here. And I'm interested in reading that. So when this one comes out, pick it up, read it. Next, I read Fatal Frost by Nancy Meale. It was on my Kindle. In fact, everything at this point I read on my Kindle. May not have been a Kindle Unlimited book, but I read it on my Kindle. It is book 1 in her Guardian series. That's not the right time. Name of the series. I'll put the name of the series right here. This was good. It was a 4-star. It was a little improbable. That's not a bad thing. It was romantic Christian suspense. Premises: U.S. Marshals go out of town to allegedly protect a witness. In reality, they're trying to keep one of the marshals safe. A blizzard happens and things go wrong from there. There's street gangs involved and cartels, and it was good. It wasn't as good as the last Nancy Meale book I read, which was Mind Games, but it was enjoyable nonetheless, and I breezed right through it. So it satisfied that romantic suspense itch that I have. And then I read Death by Marshmallow Pie by Sarah Graves. This was an audio arc from NetGalley. It is the chocolate, the I'll put the name of the series right here and what number it is. It is a companion series to her Home Repairs Homicide series, which I loved. It's the same characters. They're just in a different, instead of fixing the house and everything that goes wrong, fixing old houses, they now own a chocolate bakery in downtown, and that's how things evolve. This was just a fun, relaxing, enjoyable, cozy mystery set in Maine with familiar characters, and the narrator was fantastic. She has the Maine accent down perfectly. Literally perfectly has the Maine accent down. This book kept me guessing. I did figure it out, but that's okay. I usually figure out a cozy anyway, so it's not a big deal. I enjoyed this. I haven't read anything else in this series. I will go back and read the previous books. I enjoy Jake Triptree as a protagonist immensely, so it was just fun. And then the last book I read this week was Late Flight by Lynette Eason. This is the first book in the series, and again, I will put the name down here because I can't remember it. This Christian romantic suspense, Kindle Unlimited. This one blew me away. It was so suspenseful. I had to put the book down a couple of times and take a breather and pick it back up. That being said, I did read it one day. The action moved right along. The storyline was great. There were no, obvious plot holes. The characters were developed. It's light on the romance. It's heavy on the suspense. I'll do a full written review like I always do. But, it's the gentle, everyday faith that I seem to really prefer in my books versus the in your face, aggressive, prophetizing version. This was I cannot wait to read the next book. It was so good. I loved it. And actually, I didn't read that from Kindle Unlimited. I got it from the library. Anyway, it was excellent. And that brings me to what am I going to read this week? Well, just before I film this, I finished The Oath of Brotherhood by Carla Lorano. So this will count for this week versus last week. I finished it this morning. I foolishly did not buy books 2 and 3 when I bought book 1. This is the first book in the Book of Seer. It's amazing. It's Christian fantasy. It's set in a different world, but it's clearly based in Ireland and Scotland. It's not Christian allegory, but it is, you can see the Christian faith in the book. It is beautifully written. It is a great story. It ends on a cliffhanger, but if you didn't get, for whatever reason, books 2 and 3, it is a complete series, by the way. You probably, if you don't mind the cliffhanger ending, which isn't, a horrible cliffhanger by any means, you would probably be okay, but I need to finish it. It is, there's not a lot of magic. There's some, but it's not, nobody's slinging fireballs or, summoning demons or anything like that. It's totally different kind of magic. It's just a beautifully written coming of age fantasy where faith is important to the setting and success of the characters. So, what am I going to read for the rest of the week? Well, I have a bunch of arcs to finish, so I will work on those. This is my last remaining book on my April pile of possibilities. So I may or may not get to this. I'm really, really not in the mood for World War II. And this is a World War II historical cozy, so mystery. I'm most likely not going to read this. Let's just be honest. And other than that, I'm really not sure. I'm really in a mood. What do I want to read right now? It's whatever my mood strikes me, and it right now it tends to be less dark fiction and more happier fiction. So we'll see what that looks like at the end of the week. I don't know for sure. What did you read this week? Leave a comment down below, like and subscribe, and I will see you here next time at the Protagonist Pub.